President Trump issued a series of pardons to 25 people yesterday. Among the notable names granted clemency is former New York Republican Representative Michael Grimm. He was convicted of tax fraud charges and served 7 months in prison. I want to bring in CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen, who's following all of this for us. So, Jake, walk us through the list of pardons and why specifically the administration looked at these individuals specifically.
Sure, Vlad. So what we've seen is kind of this willingness by President Trump to continue to pardon political allies of his or people who are at least fans of his. Think about the reality TV couple Todd and Julie Crisley, or ex-Connecticut Governor John Rowland, who was resigned amid a corruption scandal and had just pled guilty. In addition to that, we've also seen the influence of this new pardon czar. You'll remember Alice Johnson, Vlad. She was the woman who President Trump eventually commuted the sentence of and then eventually fully pardoned in his first term at the encouragement of Kim Kardashian West and a number of other civil rights leaders. She has been a critical part of a lot of the pardon process that's been going on at the White House and in the Department of Justice. And according to at least some people who were pardoned yesterday, including the rapper NBA Youngboy and the Larry Hoover, who's a Chicago gangster, that she has been critically involved in some of these decisions to at least commute the sentence of or help people out who have needed or claim that they needed to have their sentences commuted. This all comes, Vlad, in the context of the Trump administration clearing house at the U.S. Pardon Office in the Department of Justice, firing the person who was previously there, installing a loyalist, Ed Martin, who has been sympathetic to January 6 defendants. And as these pardons all come down, the one kind of big thing to look forward to next is, do those people who were violent on January 6th, think about the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, do they get their sentences fully pardoned? They were just commuted, and that is the big outstanding thing. We reported earlier this week that there was an in-person meeting Martin held in which he personally received a number of those pardon applications for those violent felons.
A federal judge has also ordered a deported man to be returned to the U.S. after it was found that his due process in his removal proceedings were ignored by the Trump administration. What are you hearing about that?
Well, that's right, Vlad. In a filing last night, the U.S. Department of Justice said that it is working to get a charter flight to return a man who it admitted was wrongly deported without due process. In fact, so wrongly deported that the U.S. government admitted it had actually filed a document under oath, which was false, that claimed that this man said he would be willing to be sent to a third-party country. He was removed to Mexico without so much as a warning of where he was going. These court filings revealed he is only known by a moniker OCG. From there, Mexico sent him to Guatemala, where this man is from, where he claims he is at the risk of persecution and abuse. Certainly in the context of what we have going on right now with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is still waiting on the Salvadoran government and the U.S. to work some kind of way to facilitate his return. At least in one case, the U.S. government has said it is possible to bring people back so that they can have their rights heard in a U.S. court.
All right, Jake Rosen for us. We appreciate you, Jake. Thank you.